When I got this invitation, I had the opportunity to look through the experiences versus, the challenges that we've had. My name is Sammy Cheruiyot, the principal of the Cheruiyot National Poly, an institute or a TVET entity in Cheruiyot County. I would say, as I share these experiences with you colleagues, I have had an opportunity to lead institutions of different sizes. And therefore, I would just share a generic kind of situations that also will reflect the different sizes of the institutions that I've had an opportunity to lead. So I would just indicate that in today's rapidly evolving educational landscape, our institutions are faced with the dual challenge of managing complex administrative processes while also adapting to the diverse needs of our trainees, of our staff, and all the other stakeholders. To meet these challenges, ladies and gentlemen, an effective ERP or an effective ERP system tailored to the TVET space and environment or ecosystem is not just an option, but a necessity. As a principal, I have a checklist of what I have as a fairly effective ERP system. And I'll just run through some of the critical areas which will fall in the sections that my colleagues have mentioned. Among them that I consider personally important is customization and flexibility of that system. It must be flexible enough to accommodate the specific needs of the TVET institution. And at the beginning of this ERP systems, when institutions were shifting from the manual operations to automations, there was a tendency to consider universities and the TVET space, all of them as homogeneous. Unfortunately, that is not the case. We shall be listening possibly to the universities on how they are running through this. But the TVET landscape is slightly different. It cannot have an ERP system that is fit for all educational institutions. So customization and flexibility is important so that it should be able to adapt to the various programs, courses, modules, and cater for the different technical fields. Item number 2 is about integration and interoperability. ERP system, and this is the point that it should be seamless, should be able to integrate to the various aspects: registration of students, finance, procurement. And I think, without mincing any words, Optimum has really worked very hard on this. Currently, all of us are aware at the end of every financials, we are looking at compliances on procurable items, on issues relating to the 30%, to the 40% local content, to the 2% of the 30% on issues PWD. A system like this should be able to tell us and monitor that at this point in time, you have already attained either the 40% local content or you have attained the 2% of the PWD. It should also, currently we're working on, when we talk of integration, is able to bring on board all components. At the initial point, ladies and gentlemen, we had an ERP system, not necessarily optimum, that was a bit piecemeals of areas. So you'd have one for library, you have another one, and they were not speaking to each other as one entity. Optimum has done this, and every time we raise matters, they should be able to respond to it. And I'm thinking of the other components of even the learning, what do you call it? Learning management system. It should be able to bring all these on board. And of course, the third one is the data management and analytics. This is the report generation and populating reports. My colleagues will bear me witness that sometimes we get calls to populate information or data and submit. And many times we get a report on a Monday and you are told deadline is on a Friday. That has already gone. So it shows that you have very limited time to work on it. This system has been able to assist us and be able to bring on board all manner of analytics that we have talked about, and my colleagues have shared on the same. How about the friendliness of the system? Yes, the interface should be in a manner that is friendly to the users. I would not want to go to that level, but I would want to thank Optimum for bringing out the component of training and mentoring the teams after the sale. Many times you are left with a product that needs a lot of mentoring as you go through it. So Optimum, I think you have scaled up on this, and I'm very impressed. Initially, before we embraced Optimum, and I want to confess here that I have had the opportunity to consume different products in this field. The first ones, I will not want to mention names, but I've had an opportunity to run through different products in this. And I would indicate that some of the challenges that I experienced as a principal is that when you run into trouble in the system and you are reaching out to the vendor and the response period to resolve this issue is taking longer, then it means the problem is even escalated. I want to give an example. Sometimes back, not in the recent past, sometimes back, there's a system we were using, and we noted every time we are doing invoicing, the system would invoice twice. And what that would mean is already a strike in the brewing. If you take long to respond to such issues, then it means the operation in the institute will, of course, run into greater challenges. So we are looking also, for me as a principal, I'm looking for a product whose owner, whenever we raise an issue, takes the least time to bring us to normalcy. And Bwana Mamboleo, you've done well on training and the response time for such matters. I'm also looking, as a head of institution, for a product that has an element of scalability. and future-proofing. What I mean here is a system that has a component of the future, being able to be upgraded within a short time and bring you new components that serve you. If I'm to use the normal mobile industry, you have seen often the iPhone or OS and the Android would always say, look, we're bringing you a new upgrade to address ABCD. It ideally should be the same for all of us in the system that we're using. That we have now more students, how is it responsive? We have more needs. In the current position for all of us in TVET space, we're implementing the CBET curriculum, which is a slightly different in matters documentation with the earlier position of NEC-based. We have components of what we call portfolio of evidence. We would want to see how the system quickly adopts and is upgraded to look at that. And I'm very impressed that the efforts have been very fruitful in this. I would also indicate that I've experienced a lot of support on matters, compliance, and security. Security of the data that we have. The system that uses or rather addresses issues like salaries of staff, balances in the accounts, if that information is not secure, then the challenge has been, or rather can be very serious. And I want to indicate that Optimum has passed such kind of tests. The last one, and this is anchored on what I said earlier, that it should look into the future. Institutions evolve, and with it are such other dynamics. Currently in our institutions, we are looking at how we bring on board the industry as part of us in the training. We would also want to see how this system has a component in which it fits into it by bringing on board the data relating to the industries that we have linked up with for purposes of dual training, for purposes of attachment, for purposes of even internship, and even tracer position. Because the other day we were being asked to submit information relating to the number of graduates, their fields, how many are engineering, how many are in all those ones. So this is a comprehensive approach in which I would say that the Optimum team has really worked hard, and I would want to laud that kind of response. As I conclude, I would say that we lead. Most of us here are leading institutions, the principals, or even the finance officers who are here. We're leading these institutions or these departments or these units in an era of rapid technological advances. It is imperative that we invest in an ERP system that are not only effective but also responsive to the unique needs that we have in our institutions. And therefore, by focusing on customization, integration, data management, user-friendliness, scalability, security, market responsiveness, we can ensure that our institutions remain at the forefront of the spheres that we lead. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.